Day 65. So the day is ending, the sun's setting behind me. I'm at the bluffs in Pacific Palisades overlooking the ocean. So you got Santa Monica in the distance. So it's a perfect place to, maybe have a chat and talk a little bit about what happened. So yesterday we put ourselves, or I put myself, I guess, and you were a person that got to see, in an experiment. And at the end of the video yesterday, we were able to get some clarity. You heard me come up with some basic clarity. I knew it really wasn't completely, fully clear, but I knew that it was enough to get started, especially with where I needed to go. And the clarity was around clients, around the services, and how to get the universe to do heavy lifting, while me, stepping up and being there, but not getting in the way of what was needing to happen, in the way of what was trying to be told me, the information. And it's very easy for your mind to do that. So I was going along those be lived by life principles, and just decided to set myself up for seeing what happened. So that was in the morning that we had the video. I went, I did work, etc., had a meeting for lunch, and was going to talk to some people. And what was interesting about that meeting was I knew there was some synergy between the, in the discussion, and it was, around some various methodologies and services they provide, etc. And, it was interesting as we did it, as we had the discussion, because it became evident that we had a lot more in common in approach, methodology, especially regarding projects and management and style in some way. So there was a lot of resonance in the, feeling like they're kin, they really understand what you're saying, they get it, and it was a good validation perspective scenario for me, because I didn't need validation for me to know that what my truth was not valid. What I needed the validation was, and it was linked to that video from the morning, was, is that message, is that answer that I have able to be churned into a business, able to be churned into something? And clearly what came back to me was, from a mindset and a methodology, yes, here were people that had done it. They are a year into their business. They are doing well, and opportunities are rising left and right. So it is good to understand that. Then through the course of the meeting, as we finished off, and I was talking with the sales guy, we had one topic that came up, and I kind of threw out a spiritual spin to that methodology, because this was more of initially it was in the general discussion of what we were having, even though from my context it was always with a spiritual twist. From them, it didn't seem to be, or they were communicating in a more standardized, traditional means of technology and business process and project management. And I threw in my spiritual views on it, the Zen approach that you can actually do for that transformation and through process, etc. And the sales guy picked up on it and actually lit up, and he was actually, wow. And he's like, and he's was interested in, spiritual in general. And I don't think he had really ever compared the two. He saw one as in one space, one as in another. And maybe he had, but really it was interesting. So we talked more about it, and the conversation, greatly shifted. And we just even more of a connection. So I was like, wow, here are people that are able to be in the technology space and not be just an engineer, very brick and mortar type mentality, and can go more towards the esoteric Zen, etc., which was just another validation that my approach and what I was trying to do was making some sense. And then he gave me some advice, and it was interesting that the advice he actually gave me was, in his own words, an approach on something and some things for me actually to do, because it did kind of come up about customers and, and services and finding them and et cetera. But it did link back to those intuitions that I had told you about. Just it was nice to hear it in someone else's words to give it some more clarity. So wonderful meeting, go do my stuff, have a great afternoon, get home, start doing a little bit more of my research, continuing to be in that surrendered place, letting the universe, see what comes into my awareness. Quite quickly, through some things that had been popping into my head that I was looking up, came a video about finding your tribe. And a guy that really was specifically. So there's a webinar about it. I need to finish watching it, the recording. But it was clearly looking like that would be the next thing of strategies to get that, along with the previous one that had spawned some of the ideas. So that helps me, direct myself in the right way. And then even on top of that, and this was like the big surprise to me, was coming across a guy, his late 50s now, I guess, that does the transformational type of approach that I had inherently did in my projects, inherently did in anything that I ever approached on a business level. But up until recently, it was just natural. It wasn't linked to thought processes. It wasn't linked to, a methodology that was communicated outward. And that was one of the challenges I was having, how to communicate your message, how to put it in a way that I want to say average in a bad way, but a normal isn't even the right word either. Just a person that is not of that mindset, as a more traditional, you could say, mindset, or more of the mass consciousness mindset, and businesses that are of that mindset, and executives and people of that mindset, the various customers that I was approaching that are of that one mindset. How does someone that is in the space that I was wanting to go to, or feeling pulls toward, and noticing that, wait, this is what I do in my world. My reality is such as this, but I was starting to get resistance, which was showing me that I can't grow anymore. I've hit walls and my environment is not conducive to me growing. So it's like you took a tree, the tree I'm looking at right now, you picked it up and you went and you planted it in a space that it just couldn't grow. So it hit its limit. And that's why I'm trying to shift. And my challenge was finding that space to shift into. That was a fear of, what will it be able to support me? Will it be able to be communicated in a way that doesn't get me laughed out? Not that that was a fear, but am I able to support myself? And I was wanting, even though inherently I know you can, it's all within you, but I needed visible proof and of that client, and have it echo back to that reality we've talked about seeing your reality, that you can then compare against your beliefs, and for the beliefs that you're holding that support that reality, say yes. And for the beliefs that you're holding that deny that reality, say no. And this is why it needs to be reprogrammed. And this guy talking about the transformational presence and the awareness and the approach to business and the approach to your life was like just validation in its core, soul-based validation. It's like someone looking at you and just say, I get it. And you're 100% right. And that's what I needed. So it's going to be interesting because it gives me a lot of inspiration. It gives me a lot of ability to model and understand and move myself into the next situation that I need to be in. Now, we obviously haven't solved the greater context of what that challenge is that we talked about yesterday, or, obviously about finding the customers and allowing them to pay, and will they pay, et cetera. So those are fears that I think and scenarios that are going to happen when it's appropriate. But what I've noticed is over the course, after I got past these like halfway point, that day 62, and it's like up until then, you've got, this pressure point, and it's that fear limit, and you're trying to get through, and just everything's pushing you back. But when you break through the other side, you switch the paradigm around, and then everything supports you and pushes you forward. And that's what it really feels like. It feels like I got past that halfway point, and now I've got a tailwind instead of a headwind. And that lightens me, that gives me the ability to move forward faster, especially with knowing who I am. I'm able to, force multiply very easily. It'll be good. And then another thing that just popped in my head that really was interesting that came up was, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. It was related to me always saying, I knew one of my challenges with this 124 days was that I didn't really have a full definition of what I was trying to accomplish. And unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to I should have written down the exact message. But I told you all that because I didn't have it clearly defined, I knew I was going to run into some challenges, or I knew that I was going to not be happy with myself or set myself up for failure in some way because I'd get to my birthday and I wouldn't feel that I really changed my life. Well, the basics that came out of that and the information that actually came through some of this transformation and me noticing what was happening was that it really does all happen at the appropriate time. And it wasn't about what you were doing, and I had linked the 124 days to what was I going to do? What was I going to provide and give? And even with this challenge with the customers and the services, what was I going to give out to get back? To provide a scenario. And that's not really what I'm here to do with transforming my life in these 124 days. It really is who you're going to be and who you are at that point. And you've got to step up and you've got to step forward into who you are and express it. Step into greater expression. And it's not an end point. It's a stepping stone that works you up and up and up. So 124 days on my birthday, 43, I don't know what I'll be doing. I don't know what I'll be giving. I don't even know what the end of this will look like. But I do know that the process of what I'm going through and recording here is a journey for myself and a journey for who am I going to be? What things am I finally have become part of me? Because I know who I am on my soul level with the unconditional nature of me, the giving and the understanding, the compassion, all those other things. But those things that aren't, those things that I'm trying to obtain to not fill me in from a bad way. I mean, at some level that is, you're trying to close gaps, but to greater express myself. That's really the essence. So it's like another level of who you are, another peel on the onion. What is that next expression? That's where I want to be. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And that's what I want this to turn into. And it's not going to be you made $60,000 this year and you made $2 million at the end of your 124 days. It's going to be, you're in this mindset. And at the 124 days, you're in this mindset. And as crazy as that sounds, that's what I do. That's what I try to do and try to challenge and try to push myself, especially in my current occupation, and I've done for years, it isn't about what you're doing. It's not about the technology. It's not about how you're doing it. It's not anything. It's about the process. It's about what it is at the end. And I'm like, you don't even need to worry about the how. You don't even need to worry about everything. All you need to do is start doing stuff that changes your dynamic so that at the end of that scenario, you're this. And when you're this, it's conducive to that. So when you're able to, with like the feelings that were coming up today, it was really a strong one that I haven't overcome yet. But before, last year, I wouldn't have managed it at all well. I'd have shut down massively. Today, when I was starting to run the scenario that was being played out, the story, I had mastery almost. Not perfectly, but just it's really still hard. But I had basic mastery of the skills to get through it. So I was doing the breath right. I was doing what was necessary. Started writing again, really to get clarity. And out of that clarity came what the challenge was and how I can overcome basics of it. And a year ago wouldn't have been there, even potentially in some ways. Right when this challenge started, I don't think I would have been at the same place as what I was able to do today. So that makes me happy. So, experiment, I would say 50% is complete. I've been able to get more clarity on the services, how to do it, even more clarity on it's not really worrying about them coming to you. I was starting to run a story and run a program and trying to think about the how instead of just trusting that the universe will bring it, especially on a dynamic level, and not holding on to that answer, because the truth of the matter is the transformation that I'm going through is evolving. And with each evolution, there's a different opportunity. And that opportunity can be locked and taken advantage of, or I could continue to evolve and transform like I maybe did with the research, and there's a new opportunity. An example, and I know this is getting long, the longest I've done, but I think it's important. An example is at the bottom of this bluff is PCH. If you're there, there's only so many opportunities. And you as a soul run on a vertical level as you expand your awareness. So you're raising up, and we talked in a blog post, I talk about imagine yourself on the ground, you're in your own world, you're not seeing what's happening. If you're standing in a building, a skyscraper, you're 10 stories up, you start seeing more people. If you're 100 stories up, you see even more people of like New York City, and then you're away from some of the drama. If you're this far up, look at the opportunity you have here compared to where you were on the ground. So this is going to be a little unconventional. It's really windy, but I want to use an opportunity to show you what I was talking about before the camera battery died. So here we are, top of the bluffs, great view, and I want you to focus, on kind of the traffic down there and what these people are experiencing. And now, as you raise your vibration, you come up here and you're able to get a whole different view about the way the world works, what you're experiencing, and everything. So let me get in the car so we don't have to deal with the noise of the audio. So what I was trying to express is, as you move up and as you raise yourself upward, the opportunities change. And a lot of people say, I have to do this, I have to be this based on that level of opportunity. And I'm maybe in this situation that I need to stop grabbing onto that opportunity and see what the evolutionary intelligence, you could say, and that's something that I picked up through that transformation person and everything. I like that word in a way. What it's wanting. And as I raise my awareness level, there's good that I can provide and there's people I can help, but I don't want to stop. I want to keep going. So maybe it's not the right time that my client base is showing, and maybe that's why I'm having a challenge. So they say, you know, that the teacher will show when the student's ready. And there's a coaching belief that the people that you're coaching are actually there to teach you, because what their challenge is deep inside them, there is really what you're facing. So they're the good mirror of that. And so maybe that's probably why I haven't had that clarity about what that customer truly is or what I want to sell them, because those other possibilities and those other opportunities are there, but I'm not ready to latch on to them because there's another floor above me and I want to go see what that floor is. So, which quite honestly makes sense for me because I'm that type of person. I've always been. I always like to twist it and make it unique another way and see how we can change this. And like looking at a cube, oh, well, what happens if we do this? Well, what if we turn it this way? And what if we do that, etc. So that makes perfect sense for me. It really is authentic. So I guess what I'm saying is that challenge that we had put me in, I've basically had it answered in the basic sense, and I've kind of null and voided it, as in waiting another 24 or 48 hours to see what comes to me. I'll see if anything else comes in relation to it, but overall, it might not be the right time to be asking that question. So I'm going to go focus on the information that was presented to me, integrate it, really understand it, and then we'll just see where we go from here. So that's it. Thanks for dealing with the craziness with the technology. So now it's night, and this is the view. Kind of not really focused. Maybe I can get it focused. There we go. Santa Monica. The Pacific Coast Highway, headed out to Malibu. So you changed your perspective and you have a whole new set of opportunities and everything. Just a quick thought before I head home, to just give you another perspective about how the world can look when you just change a few things. Good night.